let's look at the components, right? Conceptually, right? The kanji that make up this Japanese term, right? And I don't mean like dictionary style, right? I mean what's being pointed to, right? Because I mean, ultimately, even though I do this live and as in a video format for folks that show up that way, and it ends up, residing on YouTube and on our website, ultimately, most people end up seeing this on the audio only podcast directories, whether it's Apple Podcast or iHeartRadio or Pandora or blah blah blah, right? So I don't think it would serve us for me to put the kanji up. I may at some point convert maybe this section or whatever into an article or something for the blog, but at the moment, it's not necessary, right? What I want to do is I want to take a look at break down the words, right? We'll take a look at Zan Zon, we'll take a look at whole, and we'll take a look at Tejun to get a better understanding of what's going on. Because if we just look at it and then assume that we're talking about 9 steps, well, the word ku or q isn't in there anywhere, right? Um, or that we're talking about survival the way, or limited to just the way that like a survival prepper might look at it, right? Can it be? Of course, right? This is our introduction. Anybody that is in the full program with me and decides to add this module on, everybody starts with the 9 initial steps, because it's not just a guide for when we're going through a situation like that, but just like all of our other frameworks, it it directs our training to make sure that we're not missing anything, right? So anyway, that being said, and you know what, before I jump into this, James, anybody else jump on that I should say hi to?
Dave, Trinity, and Richard Demio. Oh, have
Oh, cool,
joined.
cool. Anybody like speak up and say that they've never had a problem that hasn't like crept up on them or like smacked them in the face, or personally, me, I've a couple of fires and uh, you know somebody showing up one day and going, hey, I think I want a divorce. Okay. I mean, one I saw coming. The other one was, well, actually, that wasn't. I wanted a divorce. Turned into one because they were doing stuff they weren't supposed to be doing. Anyway, anybody like perfect out there that are just like listening in, but none of this resonates.
Well, they haven't said anything. I'm sure
Okay.
they think they are.
I was going to say so. Just you, right? You haven't had anything sneak up on you recently.
No, not at all.
Yeah, no, yeah, no, it's all good. Yeah, no, I was just talking to your wife the other day. Yeah, you'd be lying. So anyway, all right. So let's take a look at. We'll break this Japanese term down. Uh, so it gives a little bit, or sheds a little bit more light on where we're going with this. Okay. So the word zanzon could be written out with a couple of different kanji, but either way, uh, if we translate this, zanzon can mean remaining. It can mean survival. It can mean like what's left, right? What continues, right, after an event, right? And so conceptually, it's closer to the idea of remaining intact or continuing under adverse conditions, that kind of idea. Okay. The ability to continue to operate even when shit's not going well. Okay. Remaining intact, not falling apart, not crumbling, right? Not vaporizing or, just shutting ourselves down because we're lost, we're stuck, we're enraged, whatever. Okay. So that's Zonzon. Okay. Whole, most people who know the kanji for nimpo, right? Uh, that po is a linguistic alteration because of the the word before it, right? Nin. Uh, but it can be translated as method, can be translated as law, as in like a universal principle, universal law kind of thing, right? It can be translated as principle, it can be translated as way, that kind of thing, right? But when I say method, because like, ninpo, right? Ninja methods. Yeah, now it's closer to law, principles, things that don't break under pressure, right? You could strip everything else away. You could change how it looks or whatever, right? 50,000 different ways, and the principle is still the same, right? So it's more than these individual pieces. It's more like a principled method or a governing approach. Okay. So at least these folks that keep throwing shit together, right, and coming up with their own brand of need to and Nimpo or whatever, right? Um, what they see is a bunch of skill sets, but what they don't see is the unifying principles, right? That make the ones that are a part of authentic need to belong there. Right? It's kind of like when I cover the Ninja Hachimon, right? These 8 gates of the ninja. Some of you have the worksheet that I made that takes there's 3 columns. So the left column, sorry for you, the left column um, has the original 8 gates, right? And we have to recognize that was the technology of the day. So when people look at that stuff and go, "Oh, nobody does things like that anymore." Well, they're right, but they're also missing a big piece, right? So what people do is they see that stuff and they go, "Well, in today's world, we'll just put this in there, we'll put that in there, but the middle column on the worksheet, right? I do have things listed on the right side, okay, for modern day. But what I have in the middle column is the principles and the reasoning behind the original 8, okay, so that we can authentically and correctly translate this stuff into the modern world and not look at it and go, well, see, nobody does that, or this thing here. I mean, unless you're, there's no point in doing stealth training in today's world. I mean, unless you're like breaking into people's houses. And then they just stare at me like, there's crickets, early morning kind of things, or at night, dead silent, but, the crickets going on when I go, what if you needed to sneak out of an area because people were trying to hunt you down? Right? What if they broke into your house and confronting them was not a good idea because if you die, then who's protecting your family? And you need to hide or get out or whatever, right? And the reason why things kind of lock up is because people they make a snap judgment, which is what we're talking about here, okay? Where things get stuck, right? Anyway, so whole, right, is principled method. It's a governing approach, right? Yes, it's a method or a series of methods or ways or whatever, but there there is a defining structure to it, right? It's not an unbroken structure. It's not like a style where things have to look a certain way. That's not what we're talking about. Okay. And that's what throws most people off who come from other martial arts. I know it did me. Throws them off when they come to this one where, but, like everything looks different. What do you mean there's a unifying principle, right? Or are we allowed to do it this way? Or, that kind of thing. It just kind of gets in the way, right? So anyway, Zan Zon whole, right? And then no is just a connecting word, right? It's a, uh, for those of you who know what I'm talking about, it's like a preposition kind of thing, right? It shows ownership, right? So here's where the things come in, right? Tejun, Tejun, Tejun means procedure. It means sequence, like ordered steps, right? That kind of thing, right? So, um, like the 9 steps to initial, or the 9 initial steps to effective, right? We also have another one that is the 9 initial steps to effective emergency first aid. Right? Same thing, okay? Because I think warriorship needs to be about self protection in all forms, or protection of others in all forms, and not just ducking punches and not getting stabbed in the gut or shot in the face or whatever, right? Especially in today's world, right? But anyway, if we put all this together, right, and continue on with this conceptual meaning, right, a better understanding of Zonzon Ho no Teijun is like an ordered method for maintaining continuity or for maintaining survival, or continued survival, right? Or it could mean a sequential method for remaining functional, that kind of thing, right? Um, Maybe better functional translations, at least for our use, right? That are much closer to what we call things, or what we're pointing to in the Warrior Concepts Mastery curriculum, right? Would be like a sequential method for survival under pressure, or an ordered system for maintaining control and surviving, right? Or survival, or a step by step method for remaining functional when things go wrong, when things go sideways, right? So, what we're really talking about is a decision making framework, right? A thinking system, or even a method of control under disruption, under chaos, right? So, when I refer to Zan Zon no Tejun, I'm not talking about a survival manual, right? Even though like I said, I have a student guide, right, with this name as a place to start. But I'm not talking about a survival manual, right? I'm talking about a structured way to remain functional when things go to shit, right? Use that as a definition, right? It's not a list of survival techniques, although there are survival skills listed, right? It's a sequence for staying operational under pressure. So, in effect, it's no different than our PX8 system, or our 8 phases of effective uh, self defense strategy and training, right? It's it's no different, right? It's a structured sequence uh, that makes sure that we don't miss anything. Okay, but like I said, it was originally taught within literal survival training, right? Wilderness survival training, within the ninjutsu that I inherited, right? And of course, within the Warrior Concepts wilderness survival training program, right? But but here's the important part, right? This is not just about survival, wilderness, urban, or otherwise. Okay, this is about what to do when anything suddenly goes wrong.